Everywhere we look, we seem to find a new YouTuber advertising some sort of new product, only to inevitably be the next trending topic all commentary channels jump onto the next week. But I wanted to go one step further and actually understand why almost all these products fail. Is it the marketing, the product itself, or simply how criticism was handled?
I know math is hard when you're an idiot, but...
So I messaged my good friend Core, who had just released his first product, to learn more, and while I waited, I set out to examine countless of failed products to try and find frequent commonalities, and what I found completely changed the way I view YouTube, which all started when I narrowed down the biggest mistakes these creators make before the product is even launched, and the first one surprisingly being tapping into an oversaturated market. See, the large majority of these failed products can be placed into one of three niches, from drinks and food to makeup, and lastly, clothing. This isn't a coincidence, but a reflection of a bigger issue. When you sell products, you're not only competing against other YouTubers, but also against other established brands with credibility. So how do YouTubers who have made a complete livelihood separating themselves from the rest of the crowd all fall in the same common trap and mistake and all make, well, ordinary products? Well, because they have an overestimated perception of their audience's loyalty, and expectedly so, but it's only when you look at the numbers that you realize how far this overestimation goes. First of all, not all subscribers are created equal. Just because you have 1 million subscribers doesn't mean you have 1 million loyal subscribers. This is illustrated perfectly in Pat Flynn's book Superfans, where we see that a creator's superfans are only going to be a fraction of their connected community, who are then only going to be a fraction of their active viewers, who are then going to only be a fraction of their casual viewers and subscriber base. And that's taking into account one-time viewers who subscribe from a viral video and even inactive subscribers. Take Colin and Samir, a channel renowned for video creation with a massively loyal following, and in 2024 only 20% of their views came from returning viewers. And it's these numbers that set up a massive trap a lot of these YouTubers fall into, called the active community illusion, where the small minority is the loud minority, which tricks them into this false perception that their loyal following is a lot bigger than it actually is, fueled from active comments to active Discord and Twitter communities, when in reality you don't see or hear from the 90+% of people who don't really engage after clicking on a video. This mindset can also lead to a standard of complacency, where creators think that that audience which engages with their videos will also equal to engagement on sales, making them forget the golden rule of sales and YouTubing, being that your content or product is all about the audience or the buyer and not the creator. This is seen repeated in every piece of branding study, from Brandon Kane's hook point stating people generally only care about themselves, not the brand. Instead, they need to think about how it brings value to their audience, to YouTube specific Sean Cannell and Benji Travis's YouTube secrets, emphasizing great content is anything that adds value to the viewer's eye. And for verification, all you have to do is look at YouTube Shorts. Simply trying to pivot to just a different video format can yield vastly different results. Just like your content, your product has to be different or better. Or you find yourself, like countless YouTubers, doing none, and in extreme cases, creating products with no correlation between their viewers and channels, such as the Ace Family, for instance, a channel centered around family vlogs, releasing a luxury hat brand at $100+ a hat, or David Dobrik releasing his own perfume, all while expecting their audience to buy unessential products or give up a trusted brand for what is, in most cases, in all of these failed examples, a mass-produced items with the creator's name slapped onto it, compromising the quality for the same price, which always works out. But what theories are true on paper isn't always in practice, and luckily for me, before I dove into the why products fail from after they've launched, my good friend Cause was able to share insights and verify these theories from first-hand experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of content creators think that way. I think a lot of them have, big followings and expect like 10-20% of their audience to purchase off them, which is just never going to be the case, right? I think it's probably like less than 1% of your audience who will convert. There's so many different factors to take into account, such as the product itself. Is it a good fit for your audience? I've seen creators make products which don't take into account what their audience actually like about their content or how they resonate with their content. So in my case, I thought a plushie would make sense because my audience is generally quite young, and because the audience also like the main character, Andy, a lot. And making a plushie of her made sense because she's the favorite in the series. That kind of demographic likes plushies. So it made sense. And the third thing is also there's like traps that people fall into, like quality, for example. Some creators might make make a product of low quality or go with a third-party manufacturer who produces low quality products.
And talking of quality, we now have our first flaw of the rollout of these products, being that we see a lot of these items being paired with some quality marketing before the launch, creating demand, only for that demand to be met with viral-worthy quality issues once the product is out, such as finding lead in your lipstick or releasing a sauce that would cause food poisoning.
This is like the best thing ever, guys. What do you mean FDA approved?
With all these failures in quality arising from the same branch, rushing it all out by releasing untested products that creators didn't really use themselves, with instead using that energy into creating unjustified hype. So if this mistake is so detrimental and obvious, why do so many creators fall victim to it? Well, because they choose to. See, when you look at the majority of creators who fell into this category of quality failures, you start to see a very common pattern of having lost momentum for their channel and views, influencing this mindset that this was potentially their last opportunity to make money before losing their relevancy by creating quick cash grabs, such as selling white label items where you rebrand existing cheap products, all the way to selling countless of online courses you especially see in the financial niche that definitely will make you a millionaire in 3 weeks, if you count Zimbabwe currency. Or to say this is a very unique indicator, as this isn't really an issue that sparks the downfall of a brand or channel, but more so is the result of an already struggling channel. However, you don't need to be a struggling channel to make a mistake after you've marketed the launch of your product, especially when it comes to the pricing of it. The golden rule of the internet is to never charge for something that you can get for free. We're quoted from the tweet of Marcus Brownlee, which aged very well when he was met with a massive wave of backlash when he released his wallpaper app at $50 a year, with yes, this being one of the wallpapers on the app. Now, his product didn't actually lack in quality, but it did showcase that even one mistake can completely derail your whole campaign and compromise your brand as a creator, as we saw with many other creators, such as Jeffree Star charging $300 for leftover makeup stock when it was advertised as a premium product when diving into other YouTube niches. Now, despite avoiding these two main hurdles of pricing and quality, you can still find your product at a standstill when trying to market beyond your initial audience after your product has launched. Take Lunchly, for instance. For the most part, they did market their product quite well. Pre-launch chose a compatible product with kid-friendly channels selling to children. The pricing was competitive, as well as having sorted out the distribution logistics. However, expanding outside of the US market based off of how they've previously advertised the product will be an incredibly challenging feat, from how they've unintentionally highlighted the different standards in food quality. And take it from someone who's lived in Europe for nearly 10 years. For instance, this campaign right here.
Our pizza uses real cheese, and it's available for around $4. Super affordable.
This campaign or line was used as a selling point in the USA, whereas in Europe, emphasizing that cheese is made with real milk would be a massive turnoff, as a statement like that would go, well, without saying, prompting the public to question why you would even need to emphasize that. This would be like going to the doctor and having them emphasize that they're a real doctor. This difference also fueled controversy around the product in the States itself, further encouraging consumers to look into the health implications, sparking viral-worthy videos from credible channels highlighting all its dangers. Which leads us to the final phase of any product, which is keeping its positive brand image after its launch. And talking of controversy, the first big mistake is, well, failing to keep out of it. When you launch a product, you open yourself up to direct and indirect controversy. Direct being associated to you as a creator, like the Mr. Beast drama, while indirect being associated to the product itself, like we saw with Marcus Brownlee. So considering you're now twice as likely to spark drama, this is where you would think creators would be hyper vigilant, and yet it almost feels as if they wait to announce a major drop to then dive into some controversy. A prime example being Prime with Logan Paul and his NFT scam, or David Dobrik's Dispo app, which was backed by numerous investors only for them to pull out when he was met with waves of personal scandals. Now, these are all out of one's direct control. I mean, yes, you do control not to scam your audience, but you can't control external factors such as how the internet reacts to those actions. But what you can control is how you handle that criticism. And as we've seen numerous times, YouTubers are not renowned for their accountability skills. And the reason this is one of the most dangerous territories a YouTuber can find themselves in is that whatever controversy their product creates and how they respond to it doesn't just affect their product's image, but also their personal image. And seeing how bad creators handle personal drama, yet alone when talking about balancing the image of a whole product, we get stories like creators complaining that their fans aren't buying their products while calling them broke.
I know math is hard when you're an idiot, but like if you're a broke boy, just say so.
Or even denying the validity of the controversy itself.
My lipsticks are not moldy. They are not hazardous. They are not contaminated. They're not unsafe for you in any way, shape, or form.
The issue here, unlike massive brands, creators can't really hide behind a logo, especially with massive personal public influence. For instance, if a CEO approves a dodgy product like an exploding phone, for instance, risking the lives of thousands of people, most of the public would point fingers at Samsung as opposed to an individual. Unfortunately for creators, when advertising products, they don't really have that same luxury.
I have seen some content creators create products which have not gone down well. There's nothing more important than the audience's satisfaction. These are people paying their hard-earned money to purchase your product, so it should be the utmost priority to make sure the quality of the product is good. Only a small percentage of your audience is going to purchase from you in the first place, probably less than 0.5% of your viewers. And these are individuals who resonate with your content the most. So if you make a bad product, then these individuals are less likely to buy from you in the future. And again, these are people who really resonate with your work the most. So making sure a product lasts for them, is of high quality, is well priced, and meets their expectations is paramount.
As convinced as I was when writing this script that this would be the end of my video, it was only after I started editing all this together that I noticed I'd missed the most crucial trait all these products had, a trait that completely changed the way I viewed these products on YouTube and showed me just how wrong my initial approach was. Yes, these initial factors were applicable, but I was looking in the wrong place the whole time. Mistakenly, I was only looking at the big creators, the one that were the loudest in the social media space. I was making the exact same mistake those YouTubers make when marketing their products, only thinking about their loudest subscribers, just as I was only looking at the biggest and loudest channels and fails. So after some digging around and looking at smaller channels you don't really hear about or see on the trending page, I found what would change my whole perception of these products. Because all these massive viral worthy failed products create the impression that most products fail on YouTube, but when looking at smaller channels which had niche down audiences, the majority of them create sustainable business practices and products that serve a practical, unique purpose for the majority of their viewers, such as selling editing presets to people wanting to up their editing game like Finza, all the way to selling traveling information for people planning to visit Paris, such as in the case of Le Frenchies. And this makes perfect sense. This allows creators to bypass a lot of these initial hurdles by avoiding oversaturated markets, creating products true to their channel's identity with real practical use. This leading to the real ending and final lesson of the video being that if you ever thought of making content on a passionate topic but thought it was too niche to be sustainable, then to take these examples as to why you're actually at a massive advantage and don't need a massive following to make it, and definitely don't need a massive following to just start and enjoy making content. Just don't sell any poisonous products and you should be fine. That's it.